It's the week one edition of the Coach's Corner here on RFM. Great to have you along with us for season 11 of the Coach's Corner here on RFM, our second, and now for the first time ever with our partners at 95.1 FM, WLPZ in Leominster, and Tucka56Radio.com. More from our partners later on in the show, but we welcome back for season number 11, his fourth on the job, Leominster High School Head Coach Devin Gates. Coach, welcome back to Coach's Corner and welcome back to football.
Thanks, Todd. It's great to be back. Missed you. So happy to be back and talking some shop.
We'll get a chance over the next 13 weeks to spend a lot of time together on these Monday nights. It's been 248 days, Coach, since the last time we could talk about Thanksgiving. From Thanksgiving to now, football-wise here in central Massachusetts, that is a long layoff, and lots of things go on in the football offseason. We're going to hit on a number of them here, but as you look back on the 248 days from your Thanksgiving win last year in November of 2021 to where we are today, give us an update on what's gone on with the program from that point to now.
Well, that Thanksgiving Day game was great for our program. It was tough. I get Fitchburg not having some of their key players out there, but that was really about our guys going out there and executing, and I think we did a really good job. And that game kind of catapulted our whole off season and our lifting program all through the summer. So there's a lot of excitement in the program. We had a lot, we started right, the first day back in school after winter break in January. I think it was January 2nd or 3rd. We were right back in the weight room, and the guys were there up until, the week we started. So, there was a lot of guys wanted to make sure that we keep it going in the right direction, capitalize on how we finished. And they did that this summer. So a lot of hard work was done. A lot of guys in the weight room, a lot of new faces in the weight room. We had 19 freshmen come out last year. We have 40 this year. So it kind of just speaks to, I think, the type of kids that we have promoting our program and kind of the direction that we're going.
You've even told me there is a wait list for football athletes. That is an incredible testament to people who want to be involved in a program.
Yeah, it's been tough. The last thing I want to do is have put kids on a wait list or have to cut kids, and that's not something we want to do. It's a good problem to have right now. It just happens to be when there's an equipment distribution issue nationwide. So a number of schools in the area have helped us out and loaned us some helmets until our new ones come in. So we've kind of all banded together and help each other out. So thankful to them. And, we've got about 110, 115 kids on the roster right now when we ended the season with about 85 last year. So definitely going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And let's talk about this equipment thing, because this is not a case of, the purchase order didn't clear or this didn't go through. You said it. This is a nationwide football equipment issue. And we knew that this was happening back in June when everybody got together here in Central Mass for the football all-star game, which we had the opportunity to cover here on RFM. They were having equipment issues then because schools hadn't either received their new equipment or received their reconditioned equipment back. So give us just kind of a little bit of a picture here. This is just one of the many things that go on. There's a point where you guys are obviously ordering and bringing new equipment in. There's also the opportunity to have equipment that you have reconditioned on an annual basis. And just somehow there is a bit of a gap in being able to fill those things all across the country. Yeah,
mostly with Rydell. I know that the company, Helmets and Shoulder Pads, they've had problems staffing wise. They also had a fire at their plant, so that hurt in terms of the number of helmets and shoulder pads they're able to process or recondition, the amount of time that they were able to do it. So all those issues, turned into, all kind of fell back to all the other companies as well too. So it created a lot of supply chain issues there. We were told in April, we usually send our equipment out in the end of February, beginning of March, which, we will send it out a lot sooner from now on. But we were even told then that, any helmets that we ordered then, we're looking at the end of October or to November to get them in. So we knew it was going to be an issue. We thought we had enough helmets, and with some of the kids having their own helmets, that if we were right around the same amount of numbers that we were last year, we'd be okay. But having, the extra, 40, 30 kids, it caused a little bit of an issue. So we're still trying to get some other helmets. We need some small helmets out there. There's a couple of kids that still need them. So we're trying to work the phones and talk to some other connections around the community to see what we can do there. But yeah, it's been an unfortunate issue. The kids have been great. They've been really patient. The parents have been patient. I hate to even have to ask this of them too. It's not something that it's not how we want to, operate. But it's beyond our control. Other teams around the state are dealing with the same thing too. So we just got to deal with it the best that we can. I have full faith that we'll have everybody outfitted by, hopefully by tomorrow or Tuesday. Tuesday or Wednesday.
That would be great news all around. And I think people, again, this is one of those things that I know because I get to see a little bit behind the curtain, but whether it's school equipment or whether it's your own personal helmet, you guys send those out for a full recondition. And this isn't just a paint job. They are fully tested and they make sure they are still NOXI approved. I think that's not only a tremendous service, but it also guarantees that your players are playing in safe equipment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any types of, loose screws, buttons, anything like that, everything's all tightened up. Everything's kind of, reset back to factory standards, so that we're making sure that we're playing with the safest equipment possible. Even with that saying too, we know every year, any helmet that's 10 years or, once it reaches 10 years, they age out. So we got to order more helmets when that happens. So we lost 11 this year to being aged out. So we knew that we were going to have to get a couple in too. So we have an order of helmets that's in. It should be here. We actually went through a company called Light, which is a newer company, and it's still rated in the top 10, I think, of the Virginia Tech helmet study, which is kind of the measuring stick for the helmet safety. So we should be having those in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that too, and that will get everybody all squared away. That's the worst case scenario. They're going to wait that long. But again, it's everybody kind of found themselves in the situation a little bit. Lucky that we had some help from some other schools, and it's like I said, it's a good problem to have. And as soon as we get everybody outfitted, then we can really start to grow and start to teach the game a little bit more and practice some of the skills that we need to with contact. At the JV level, varsity is all set. Varsity gets equipment first. And then we kind of went by order, who, upperclassmen, who's played, youth football before. And then we went to the new players in freshmen that showed up. So again, you have to prioritize kind of in that way a little bit. It's probably one of the hardest things I've had to do as a coach, to kind of figure out, okay, well, this kid's got to wait on equipment. This kid's got to get equipment. It's, it seems really unfair, but it's really just trying to do it in the most diplomatic way possible.
And of course, you mentioned the other programs, Lunenburg and North Middlesex, helping you out along the way, being able to loan you some equipment in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. They really came through in the clutch for us, and really thankful for them for helping us out.
Well, as we get closer and closer to this week ahead, of course, we alluded a little to it. The season kicks off on Thursday, September 8th at Crocker Field. It's the second Kickoff Classic, the 141st meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg, and we'll have more on that in the moments ahead. But Coach, as you've gone through this camp process, and we talk about this each year, week one, each year has its own unique differences. Obviously, we talked about the increase in student athletes. So you've had more students to see, even the student athletes that we've met that are going to be part of the varsity program. There's some new faces there that have come up to fill in some holes as well. Let's just talk a little bit about what stood out to you through the last couple of weeks of camp as you transitioned from your weight room program in the off season on into actually getting on the field and being able to start working on skills.
Yeah. Well, I mean, having a full year of consistency has really helped us out. And I think since I started here, right, we went to our off-season program. That's when COVID hit and kind of derailed us being in the weight room, and that continued on through last season. Again, not making excuses. Everybody had to deal with it. But for us, being a new staff that came in at that time, having that consistency through the whole entire year has been huge. The weight room is showing up on the practice field, which is the biggest thing we wanted to see. Our line is stronger. We had guys that dedicated themselves in there all year long. It just across the board, you see our strength, our speed, our explosiveness is definitely a lot better than it's been in the past. And that's really just due to the amount of time we've been able to get in the weight room in the program that we had this off season. So that's been the biggest thing. And guys are excited to be there. This senior class, they came in as freshmen. They won as freshmen. They won as JVs. They're a tight class. They're a really, really special group in terms of their, togetherness, their closeness. And that's kind of rubbing off on everybody else too. And I've talked about the program, getting to a point where you're player led. I know you probably maybe want to touch upon this a little bit more later on too, but the seniors that we have really, lead by example. They show people the way, show the other younger kids the way we want to do things, the way, how we carry ourselves, our expectations, and they hold everybody to it, and not in a way that's, wagging your finger or talking down to anybody. It's like, this is the way we do things, and everybody's expected to do it. And the kids are responding very well, the younger kids.
You had pointed that out to me before the scrimmage the other day against Tewksbury, is that connection, obviously, and that respect of those upperclassmen shown to those new faces, whether it be Ricky Encarnacion or John Escabi or Mackay Newton or Josh Cormier, all of those players who have roles as captains this year are doing a lot of that player leading that you talked about, and obviously the importance of player ownership and being able to kind of take that leadership role can certainly change a program from the inside out.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the 4 captains that we have right now, but I could easily name 8 captains that are seniors. I mean, Gio Roman is a huge leader for us on the defensive line. He was in the weight room. Corin Sullivan has made great gains, playing on the offensive line and subbing in on defense right now, but he dedicated himself into the weight room and getting better this whole entire year. And he was an absolute leader out there. So there are a bunch of other guys I could name that are older kids that are really, we have almost like a class full of captains in the senior class. So it's, I'm very thankful for them. As a coach, they make my job a lot easier in terms of, atmosphere and, making sure kids are being held to expectations. When they can do that, and the coaches can concentrate on X's and O's and developing everybody. And, that's a good place to be. I'd say we're not 100% there yet, but we're taking the strides that, we've been wanting to take for a while.
You mentioned that what you've seen in the weight room is translating itself onto the field. And obviously, I mean, there is brute strength and muscle, which you can see from the outside, but talk about the things that we can't see translating from the weight room to the field.
Yeah. And just in terms of flexibility, in terms of just fundamentals, being able to execute your fundamentals in a better way. I mean, you're not always going to see it when break the big run or make the big tackle, but just overall, your ability to arrive at the play sooner, your ability to create, an inch or two more of running space, your the hole maybe a second faster, or be able to accelerate faster once you get there. Closing speed on routes and stuff like that. It's really, really helped us. I would say probably tackling the most is where it's really benefited us. I think we're a more physical team right now than we've been in the past. A lot of that's due to Coach Schiller and his offseason program, and then just the way we've practiced this year so far. So I think we're ahead of where we've been before in terms of our physicality. And that's really, I think, the mentality that you have in the weight room too. I think it changed our mentality, just the way that we come in there. It's very regimented. Coach Schiller, is demanding in a very, supportive way of what we need to do in the weight room. He doesn't let kids slack off. He doesn't let kids, he challenges the kids at all. And that mental toughness is something that we've needed to improve on our football team. So, that's something that you're not going to see, in terms of speed or in terms of power, but that's going to show up in terms of situational football. And if you go down a score, we're not going to hang our heads, like the game is over. That's not going to happen. It's the mental toughness aspect of the lifting program this summer. Even just showing up all the time, in the ownership of it, has our team mentality, our team atmosphere in a good place.
And that's one of those cases where you've faced adversity together before and you have overcome said adversity.
Correct. Yep.
As we look down on the field, I think the number of new faces, of course, because of folks who graduated last year, graduated a significant senior class. So you had a lot of places that you had holes to fill, while you also had a lot of juniors and sophomores who had a lot of game experience. So a lot of them were already varsity tested. Now they're going to own some positions of their own going into this year. But then there's also a lot of new faces, folks who came up from junior varsity or who perhaps even are joining the program for the first time, including a couple of freshmen for the first time in recent memory who are potentially going to be in position to make a contribution to this program.
Yeah, we have a really good mix of, I think, older upperclassmen, seniors, guys who played a little bit last year, and then newcomers as well, too. Speaking of the freshmen, we have 2 freshmen right now that are in the starting lineup for us on offense, and that's Caden Drinkwater at receiver, and Osiris Lopez at quarterback. And they're not there because we don't have anybody else to fill those spots. They're there because they earn those spots. They're mature beyond their years right now, and they're very football savvy. It's what I've been really impressed with the most about is their football knowledge and their poise and their maturity at the age that they are right now to step into this and be leaders too. Has been really impressive. So really excited to see what they can do, because I mean they're the sky is the limit with them right now. They've taken everything in stride. Have really popped in some plays, the scrimmages as well, and they're gonna have to do some special things here, I think, too. The returners that we have too, we'll still talk about Ricky, talk about Kai, John Escabi on the line too. He's going to be joined with Corin Sullivan, Tony Kendall, Logan Arce, who started last year as well. And then Delmar Wright's going to play some guard for us too. Josh Cormier on the offensive side of the ball, play some tight end. And then you'll have some new kids that, Xavier Cora is, JC Cora's brother, who, was a captain 2 years ago and played quarterback and receiver for us. He wasn't able to play last year as a freshman due to an elbow injury. So this is his first time getting out there, and he's done really, really well.
And these are faces that we're going to see and names that we're going to be spending a lot of time to call. Getting a chance to see a lot of these guys play for the first time in the scrimmage against Tewksbury. I think the point you made is salient and deserves a double underline here. And that was the ability to communicate and the ability to receive coaching and then turn that into execution. I think that's the undervalued piece of any aspect of education. I mean, both of us spend time in the classroom during our day jobs as well. And that is, it's one thing to teach content. It's another then for the student, or in this case, the student athlete, to translate that content into execution. And that seemed to me to be the thing, at least in the early going here, what stands out with these new faces and the veteran faces, receiving the content from the coaching and then executing it out on the field.
Yeah, they're all very, very motivated to be the best that they can. And we've talked to them, many times about how we're trying to put them in the best position possible with what we're asking them to do and what we're coaching them to do. Not that they always would agree with it, but to trust us, and go out there and try it the way we want them to do it. And it's worked out. So you have a lot of guys right now that are applying what they're learning in practice, what they did in the weight room, and it's showing up on the field. And that's an exciting thing for us. Very exciting. We still got a lot of work to do, but I think the foundation right now is pretty solid.
We don't often in the broadcast get a chance to talk a lot about this, so we'll talk a little bit about it here. And that is the relationship between some new coaches and, of course, some of the players, because these are things that people can't see on a weekly basis. Even if they come to the game, it's hard to see the relationships with coaches who maybe are upstairs with us at press level, that you can't see what's going on in the communication point. And you talked a little bit about this with me off the air. We'll talk about it here now. And that is the development of a quarterbacks coach in Coach Canterbury, who joins the program. And then also the relationship that he's developing with a freshman starting quarterback in Osiris Lopez, just watching the two of them interact. And it's, from distance, we see the technology happen all the time in the NFL and the college ranks where, you see a student athlete put a headset on and talk to somebody whom you can't see. You don't often see it at the high school level. And that certainly stood out to me, which seemed like a really innovative way to be able to coach while also providing feedback from upstairs down to players while the action was going on.
Sure. We felt it was important with Osiris coming in, excuse me, to have someone to be able to mentor him and guide him. And Coach Canterbury is a great guy for that. I coached him at Fitchburg State many moons ago, he'll tell you. He came to Fitchburg from Connecticut at the time. I think he held a whole bunch of passing records in Connecticut. So he's no stranger to a spread type of offense, to quarterback play. He was the offensive coordinator at Fitchburg State last year. He's another guy who's a teacher. Has spent a lot of time in special ed classrooms and now is a PE teacher. So he is very good at being able to tap into how kids learn and being able to change his style of how he's working with students based on the best way that they receive and then apply information that he's given them. And it's been great to have him with Osiris right now, using the headsets in between series to get on the headsets with him, talk about what he saw, what could be some things that open up. So those are things that, we haven't been able to do in the past. Myself being the quarterback coach and the head coach, it's been tough to kind of have those moments where you can step aside and have that conversation with the quarterback with the whole game going on as well too. So bringing Aaron in was huge for us. He's going to be a really big help.
And you also had a change on the defensive side of the ball. Defensive coordinator Kevin Murphy has moved on. And then defensive line coach, now defensive coordinator Dennis Manoni will take on that role. And this is somebody who you've got great experience with, who's been with the program as well over the last couple of years. Talk about his contributions to the program.
Dennis is great. He's a very thorough guy in what he does. Is pretty meticulous in the information that he processes and how he breaks things down. And that really guides his play calling. He's been like that for as long as I've known him. I started working with him, when I was a player at Fitchburg State back in 2002. And then as a coach, in the early 2000s, and just always appreciated his approach to the game. The way he interacts with players, the way he teaches. He's very, very thorough, and you could see it in terms of our confidence level right now and the kids' understanding of the defense and how they fit into everything. I feel like he's done a really good job at, making sure we're not overloading the kids. We're talking through everything first, and really developing a solid plan, and then being able to translate it to the kids so they can go out there and execute. So very excited to have Dennis as the defensive coordinator.
One of the things I saw with the defense in that Tewksbury scrimmage that really kind of showed some of the growth and development, I thought, is especially in the first couple of series, as plays started to develop, particularly on the ground, you could see the defense adapting, making adjustments in action to string out runs, have them moving laterally instead of coming north-south at them. I thought that in particular stood out to me in how the defense was morphing to adapt to what, of course, was coming at.
Yeah, we preach pursuit and everybody getting to the ball, and communication. As plays, as motions happen, as plays develop, as shifts develop. We got to make sure that we're a gap sound defense. Everybody's responsible for where they're supposed to be. They're taking good angles and they're flying to the football. And that's something that we work on every single day religiously. And the kids have bought into, pretty well. So you're seeing it. There's a lot of pride on that defense right now. I think you'll see us be a little bit more aggressive than we've been in the past too. We've just, defense is a probably strong point right now. I'd say they're probably in front of the ahead of the offense in terms of development in the offseason, which usually happens early on. He's got the guys dialed up right now and they're excited to go.
No question about that. It has certainly been the image of the program has been very defensive over the last handful of years. So no surprise that continues to grow going into week one this year. You mentioned the offensive line and the experience there. And that to me was what stood out is that you are looking at 5 athletes who have all played at least some part of a varsity game or games in their career, some of them coming back with many years and many starts under their belt. We'll mention John Escabi, who we talked about, not just because he was a captain, but because he anchors that line at the center position. And for a spread offense to work, that center to quarterback exchange is so vital because 99% of it is in the shotgun. And of course, if there's any ill time in that, that of course throws off the timing of the rest of the play developing.
Yeah, really proud of John and what he did this offseason too, and really got himself in great shape, and made himself a lot stronger of a player. He's already a very smart player, very football savvy, so he's able to pick up on things and relay that to the rest of the line. He started as a guard last year, and then at the Wachusett game, we had some, usually Tony Kendall was our starting center for most of the season, well, the first part of the season last year, and when that happened against Wachusett, John slipped in there, and you saw he did a really good job there. So we were able to move Tony around a little bit too. And John really is the quarterback of the offensive line and knows how things fit together, knows how to communicate to guys. We even talked after practice today about the looks that he saw and how to adjust. And, he does a really, really good job. And, he went through a little point last year before the Thanksgiving game where snaps are off a little bit, but he's worked really hard to correct that. Things have been pretty solid so far. So we're looking forward to, him and Osiris still, working out those snaps, every single day. Our offensive line goes as John goes, as he's able to motivate guys, be able to make sure they're stepping in the right directions, getting to the right guys. And I have a lot of confidence in him doing that.
You made note too of the guys moving inside and out. That's the other thing that probably stands out, is that in some cases this year, folks who may previously have been guards are now tackles and vice versa. What's the difference on the inside of the line? Is there a massive difference going from the inside out or the outside in what your overall role is?
Last year we were more of an option-oriented offense. We had more of our bigger guys on the inside and our smaller guys on the outside as tackles, and that's kind of flipped around a little bit this year with being, going back to more of a zone read type of offense, and that's the kind of stuff that we do. To having more of like the mobile guards in the middle, because they do a lot of the climbing up to the linebackers. They do some of the pulling sometimes in some schemes. So having some more of those, those more, mobile guys in the middle, has helped us out. So Logan Arcee, who was a guard last year, moved out to tackle. Tony Kendall, again, he moved out to tackle as well. They're doing a good job for us right now. You'll see, like I said, Corin Sullivan's in there along with Delmar Wright. You'll see Gio Roman in there. Then we have some newcomers too that'll help us out. We have Henry Marty has done a good job. He's actually playing for the first time as a Blue Devils, a senior. He's been a basketball player. He played JV basketball, but he's really made a name for himself in camp so far. So he's someone to look out for. And then another newcomer, Antoine Lino Diego. I believe I had that right. Or was
yes.
Diego? He's coming out and playing football for the first time. He's a big kid, and he's really kind of a blank slate, and he's starting to get it. And now you see him understanding the plays. His confidence level is going up, and he's really making some pretty hefty contributions on offense and defense for us too. So excited about the guys that we have. And there are some other guys that are working their way up there too, that, are getting better every day at camp now. That's starting to slow down for them. Some of the newer guys. And once it clicks, there are going to be guys that are going to be comfortable getting in there to spell other guys and get some looks in there as well.
I'm glad you mentioned Henry Marte, of course, coming out as a senior to play for a first time. The one that I picked up on when we were going through and having the players record their player introductions was Tony Savatelli, who I knew from the baseball side of things. And he comes strolling up, and I looked at him, I go, what are you doing here? Have you played football in the past? And the thing he said to me was, I just wanted to be a part of it. What does that say to you about your program when you have seniors who maybe have never played football or have never played high school football that want to get involved with the program?
It's great. It tells me that kids are having fun. Despite the record that we've had the last couple of years, and I know it's underperforming for Leominster standards. I'm well aware of that. But what we've done so far is create an atmosphere, create a program that kids want to be a part of, that that they want to come and have fun at. And he's coming out because his other fellow seniors are saying how much fun that they have doing it. They want to be a part of it. So if we underperform or are still having fun, then that's, that says a lot about, I think, what our coaches are doing, and how they're carrying themselves and making kids feel being part of the program. I think that's going to serve us well. It's tough to have a program like this and have the turnover, between myself and Dave. Even though schematically we might be similar, the way I think we maybe do things might be a little bit different. Not right or wrong, but there is a transition period, and I think now with this senior class that now they've been in here for 4 years. I think that mentality that we've been trying to get to, and again, this is no indictment on any classes before. It's just it's just kind of the maturation of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, we've gotten to the point where the team has the energy and the atmosphere that we've been trying to create for the last 3 years, 3.5 years. So I think it says a lot. I think it says a lot about our coaches and our kids, that they're excited to be a part of it. They love being a part of Leominster football, and that's only going to make us better in the long run.
And of course, people often lose the bigger picture here with high school athletics, and that is it's not always about winning and losing. It is probably the first level where we can discuss the importance of winning and losing, and teaching people how to persevere through losses, and of course, aspiring to win. But I think in the larger picture, if we're going to judge success of high school athletic programs, not just football, but football is certainly one of them, it has to do with the type of people you're creating and the type of student athlete that you want them to be. It is, in a lot of ways, for many students, the reason they get in the door from 7:30 to 2:15 is what they get to do from 2:30 to 5 o'clock.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's, that's the main mission of our program, is to create young men, or women, for that matter, that want to come into this program and become a better person, become a better student, become a better teammate, become a better, member of the community. and I've seen a lot of transition of guys who came in, maybe not being that person, but leaving here, better than they came in terms of the way that they carry themselves, their responsibility, their accountability. And I feel like those are the skills that are going to take them through. They're going to be serviceable to them for the rest of their lives. And that's really what we want to do. That's really what we want to do, because it makes our community better. And again, I don't want to sound, pompous or anything like that at all. That's what I believe. And that's what our coaches believe, is that we're here to help build stronger, more resilient, young people to be able to take on, the ever-changing world that's out there. It's really our mission statement. So, that's what comes first for us. Winning is going to follow, but that to us is that's our main job. And that's, what we're going to do and go out there and try to make happen. And we're going to coach football. We're going to coach them up, and wins are going to come.
First time the score counts comes up this Thursday. Let's turn our attention to the preparations for 141st meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg coming up on this Thursday. Coach, of course, we mentioned that's where your season ended last year with a win. It's where your season begins again. It's where this new schedule paradigm has a lot of fun. It's not just that you are trading places or playing Fitchburg twice a year, but you are going right back to the exact same place. So the folks who host Thanksgiving will also host week one in a back-to-back situation. So you're going back on the road to Crocker Field, where the season ended. There's a lot I've got to imagine as a coach that, especially if you were on the successful end of what happened, that you can build on and say, remember how we did this, the work we put in to get there. That's what we need to do going back in week one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going into that game, I felt we had the best week of practice that we had, all season long. And, that's what we were reminding the kids about. We won that game because we did A, B, and C all that week. And it's been the focus of camp so far. Keeping everybody focused on that. But that being said, too, this is a completely different Fitchburg team as well. There's a lot. They had 28 seniors last year, so they've got a lot of new players on both sides of the ball that we're going to have to figure out pretty quick what their strengths and weaknesses are, and make adjustments on the fly. So that's it's a different, the same mentality, same approach that we've had, but it's a different. We're going to have to, our in-game situations we're going to have to be pretty fluid and kind of adjust on the fly once we kind of get a bead on, what they want to try to do to us and what kind of personnel that they have. So it's definitely a little bit nerve-wracking as a coach going in and not knowing, some of the players that are going to be in some of those spots that you saw last year. But in the same breath, they got the same thing going on with us as well too. So, it should be a very interesting matchup, and our kids are fired up for it. We started preparing for this last week. Even heading into Tewksbury, we didn't game plan for Tewksbury at all, for the scrimmage at all. But our focus has just been on Fitchburg, and we're doing our best as coaches to prepare them for the different types of looks that they may see.
And what, of course, stands out to you? You said this is going to be a different Fitchburg team that we're going to be looking at as you guys are starting to prepare. What stands out for you? What should we be looking at on the other side of the line in the red and gray?
Well, I think for Fitchburg's strength over the last couple of years has been their front seven on defense, and their offensive line and the running back on offense. And those guys are all different. It's a completely different line on both sides of the ball. Anthony Aquendo did a lot for that team over the last couple of years, and not having him, those are big shoes to fill. Fitchburg always has athletes. It's just going to be what kind of athletes are they, and what are going to be the plays that they feel are the best way to for them to progress the ball down the field. What are they going to try to do with those athletes? So for us, it's going to be, see what kind of line do they have right now, offensively and defensively. That's the biggest thing for us. And see if the defensive scheme is the same as it's been in the past. They've been what we call 3-5-3 in the past. See if that's something that they're sticking with the athletes that they have now, or are they changing things up a little bit? They've been I formation, a little bit of spread for offense. Is that still something that they're going to be going into with the personnel that they have? So they have a lot of new faces. Luke Bolak returning at quarterback. I think he's going to be a better player than he was last year. He's a dangerous player with his legs and his arm. And then Devani De Leon did a great job for them last year, filling in for Aquendo and playing some defense too. So they have some explosive athletes. It's just going to be, are we able to match up with them at all? Are we able to get any pressure offensively and defensively? And then are we able to disrupt the quarterback at all? That's really what we're looking at.
When you look at, obviously, typical week one scheduling, the way it had done years ago, and you might play a program, or it might have been a non-conference opponent who you've never seen before in week one. How much does having the familiar, and not just the familiar, the very familiar rival on your week one schedule, how much does that allow the balance between, usually week one is a lot more about yourself than it is about the opposition? How much does it allow maybe a little more balance where you can both game plan for the opposition and concern yourself with what your team's going to do in week one?
Well, I think it forces us to play at a higher competitive level than maybe we normally would going into a week one game against a non-conference opponent that maybe we don't have a history with. So, the competitive juices are flowing, I think, a little bit more at any time that we're going against the red and gray. So I think it's beneficial to us in terms of getting in that competitive mode a lot faster, a lot more intense right off the bat. So I think it serves us well in terms of our mentality. Again, they talk about mentality all the time, but in terms of our mentality going into a game, we went out there week one last year and got embarrassed, and that's something that we've been talking about, with our program as well too. So they better bring it, and the competitiveness better be there, or else, that could be another situation that happens again. I think our guys understand that. They're taking it seriously. And that's the benefit of having a rival, we playing a rival week one.
As we come to a close here, Coach, when you're looking across the field, we'll get your key to victory on the field on Thursday night. But as you look across the field here, now where you sit, 4 days out, what would be the first half indicators? What are the things that you're going to be looking at in the first half that are going to be indicative of the direction this game is going to pull?
Well, I think the line of scrimmage, are we able to get penetration, and are we able to create some lanes for the running backs to go through? Okay. That's the biggest thing, especially with a young quarterback. We want to make sure that we can move the ball on the ground, and stay on schedule that way, and be able to get some first downs. We also want to try to get them 3 and out off the field. And that's going to be up the defensive line, the linebackers being able to create some pressure, and making Luke Bolak uncomfortable. We also got to try to contain him in the pocket. He's a pretty elusive kid. So I would say the line of scrimmage is really where I'm looking for us to, that's going to be the telltale sign, I think, early on, about how the game's going to go. Are we able to kind of push them back? Are we able to able to create some creases to run the ball? That's really what I'm looking for.
All right, Coach, as always, thank you so much. Another great week one edition of the Coach's Corner, which just leaves us to remind you that week one of action comes your way this Thursday, September the 8th. It's a doubleheader week of action here on RFM Audio. The season kicks off Thursday, September 8th, the 141st meeting of Fitchburg and Leominster, the second Kickoff Classic. RFM Audio, we've got you covered with our countdown to kickoff, streaming at 6 p.m. on these very same RFM platforms of YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. Wherever you are, we're going to be there. LeominsterTV is going to join our coverage beginning at 6:30 p.m. from Crocker Field on the channels of Comcast and Verizon. And then note the new radio home and channel for the live radio coverage. That's 95.1 FM WLPZ. We'll have live simulcast coverage joining us at 6 p.m. And the ways to play continue. Tucka 56 Radio has a full replay of the entire broadcast each and every Sunday at noon on tucka56radio.com and Live 365. That's Tucka, TUCKA 56radio.com. And then we move our way to Friday action, where Friday, September the 9th, we've got the back end of our week one doubleheader. We head out to Hal Lane Field in Holden. Franklin's Panthers visit the Mountaineers of Wachusett. We'll have a 6 o'clock countdown to kickoff, with countdown leading right up to the 7 o'clock kickoff on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. 95.1 FM WLPZ will have replay coverage of Franklin and Wachusett at noon on Saturday. Tucka 56 Radio will have a replay on Sunday following their Fitchburg Leominster replay. And that is all the ways to play in our week one doubleheader. Coach, you got all of that?
Got all of it.
Don't worry about any of that. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just coach the team. We'll get the coverage to the community. And of course, we remind you that no week kicks off without the recap and preview right here on Coach's Corner. Mondays at 9 p.m. on the platforms of RFM, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. at Tucka 56 Radio, and throughout the week on 95.1 FM WLPZ. You can check WLPZ.org for the latest programming schedule. No week begins without the preview and analysis here on Coach's Corner. For Leominster High School head coach Devin Gates, I am Todd Robbins, saying thank you so very much for joining us. And until Thursday night, so long, everybody.